All right, guys. So the failing Daily Beast put out this hit piece against Tim Poole that's literally titled "How quote coward and phony Tim Poole became one of the biggest political YouTubers on the planet." Okay, and it is a very, very, very detailed account of Tim Poole's career and basically an opinion piece from the author, basically outlining how Tim Poole is a grifter, he's fake, how YouTube is promoting his so-called far right-wing work that is supposed to be radicalizing people, all kinds of accusations that really are essentially designed to bring down independent content creators. And guys, I've kind of talked about this a little bit when it comes to the mainstream media and what they do to try to bring down independent content creators. You guys understand outlets like CNN, MSNBC, routinely go after YouTube and criticize YouTube for allowing content like mine's, Tim Poole's, anybody else that's commentating on politics, whether it's left or right, really, to be fairly ranked against their content, because their content is supposed to be authoritative. Their narratives and their opinions are supposed to be the legitimate opinions and the only opinions that the American people are supposed to see. And in my opinion, this has led to a lot of independent political content creators being punished in the algorithm for more quote-unquote authoritative news sites. And guys, the reason why they do this is because a lot of these so-called journalists are jealous because they're being replaced in the new digital age, right? Because guys, the only difference between me and somebody on TV is that I don't have a script. I have to edit my own videos. I have to do my own research. I have to do a hell of a lot more work than they have to do. All they have to do is show up to work, read over their notes, read their script, and go home. That's what they have to do. That's all they have to do. Now, they may have had to put in more work in terms of, working for the man, writing columns and whatnot, and going to college and doing all that for journalism to get to their position. But their actual job is not as involved as an independent content creator on YouTube like Tim Poole, per se. Right? And that makes a lot of these people mad and upset because they feel like somebody like Tim Poole who has built up millions and millions and millions of subscribers, being independent, they feel like it's a slap in the face to them, right? They see somebody like Tim Poole as a threat. So they actively try to pressure YouTube into suppressing that type of content. Now, I understand why the mainstream media does that. It is direct competition. Alternative media is direct competition. And a lot of people are going to alternative media because mainstream media has been so terrible. So they're monetarily incentivized to do that. But it's really sad when you see so-called alternative media that's not supposed to be corporate, like TYT, also hop on that train of smearing independent content creators in ways that are just completely dishonest. But like Jimmy Dore said, TYT, even though they act like they're independent, they're actually really corporate. And Tim Poole has almost built up a channel and a brand that's bigger than TYT, and Tim Poole probably has way less resources. TYT has a whole studio. I think they have some actual cable news channels, right? Maybe a few satellite TV companies carry their content, or cable companies or whatever. I think they have that. But again, Tim Poole, without all that, has built up a platform that's probably going to be bigger than theirs sooner rather than later. And TYT, who's supposed to be, again, a leftist independent outlet, brings on the author of this hit piece, Mr. Robert Silverman, to essentially smear Tim Poole. So I want to react to this because I think this is important, right? I think as an independent content creator, these type of conversations are really, really important to me because it has a direct effect on me and my peers, whom I will fight for and try to protect, okay? Because I think that it's important to have free speech and a wide variety of opinions on YouTube. So you have to push back when you see other independent, so-called independent content creators basically advocating for censorship of other independent content creators that they don't like. So let's get into it.
Joining us now is Robert Silverman. He is a freelance reporter and also a contributor to the Daily Beast. He recently published an article titled "How Coward and Phony Tim Poole Became One of the Biggest Political YouTubers on the Planet." Make sure you check out the piece. And Robert, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. I think that this is an important story, not only to understand the rise of Tim Poole, but how certain people are really elevated on various platforms, including YouTube.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I agree. Look, Tim Poole has made a very good living being a political pundit on YouTube, and he has built, this little mini fiefdom of his. But the story isn't, I think, really entirely just about how Tim managed to flunk out of digital media and rise to this level of success. It's about how YouTube.
So you hear how he frames this. Well, Tim flunked out of digital media. So what? So what if Tim Poole failed? Every entrepreneur fails before they eventually find a success. I can't tell you guys how many times I've failed at my little business ventures, okay? People fail. But again, this is what I'm trying to tell you. This comes from jealousy. This is where it comes from. It comes from they see Tim Poole as a threat. And now they're upset because Tim Poole has found success on YouTube. He has an audience of people that actually want to listen to his views, whether they like him or not, which actually really makes Tim Poole special in this space.
As a platform necessarily enables Tim Poole's kind of commentary. And by that, I mean commentary that is sensationalist, that is cranked out quickly, that doesn't necessarily have to be backed up by solid research or insight.
So tell me, what's the difference between what you claim Tim Poole is doing in mainstream media? What's the difference? Because the mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, they all do that. So in my opinion, that's not really a slight against Tim Poole as much as just a slight against kind of how media works in the digital age in general.
And almost as a matter of logistics and as a matter of the function of how YouTube works, it necessarily thrives on conspiracy and ill-advised speculation. And
Tim Poole is giving his opinion. So a conspiracy is an opinion. Speculation is an opinion. There's nothing wrong with giving an opinion, right? But see, these people, they want to demonize opinions that they don't like, okay? As if you can't make a living giving your opinion. And I think Tim Poole makes it very clear, just like I make it very clear. Hey, look, I'm just giving my opinion, okay? My opinion could be wrong, but it's just my opinion. If people like my opinion, great. If they don't like it, that's also fine. Anybody has the right to give their opinion. But see, these people don't think so if their opinion doesn't align with what they see as the right narrative.
And that's the arena that Tim has managed to flourish in, as I said, after trying to make it in digital media and not succeeding, and certainly not to the level he has on YouTube.
Yeah, I want to jump in there. So Robert, I want to ask you about the long con. This reminds me a lot of Trump, but as a prelude to that question, I want to say, look, I gonna vary with you on the structure of YouTube a little bit, right? So it rewards things that certain communities like, right? And then it builds an algorithm loop to reinforce what that community likes. The problem is, I don't think not necessarily in the conspiracies, et cetera, as much as, and that's a big problem, and and it's related to this. But I think the number one issue is it rewards passion and emotion, but doesn't necessarily reward facts. And so,
TYT is talking about YouTube not rewarding facts, but they're rewarding emotion, as if their whole platform isn't built off emotions, right? The emotions of trying to scare people in regards to race, white supremacy, Trump, right? Fear-mongering about Trump, that's not emotional.
So when you have a phenomenon like that, now connected to the con game here,
which you are a part of, you're a part of the con game, or the so-called con game, because again, giving your opinion is not a con game. You give your opinion. If people like it, they follow you. If they don't like it, then they don't have to follow you. That's it. That's not a con. It's just my opinion. That's it, right?
Eventually, con men rise up, like Trump did in the Republican Party, and give people what they want. So Republican voters wanted more unfiltered racism, so Trump gave them unfiltered racism, whether it was against immigrants or other groups. And guys like Tim Poole, what you did in the article, which is really interesting, is track his career, filled with tons of research, and we'll put the link down below so people can check it out for themselves, where he starts out kind of nonpartisan, then pretends to be on the left, and then stops pretending to be on the left, but then as part of a right-wing grift still pretends to be someone on the left, right? And
see, everything to them is a grift, right? When you don't agree with them 100%, it's a grift. Oh, you're just in it for the money. Tim Poole has made it very, very clear time and time again, he's a centrist, right? What that means by centrist, that means that, hey, I'm milquetoast, right? It means that I'm gonna have some left-wing opinions, right? I think he's actually said he's more liberal. I don't watch Tim Poole like that. Okay, his videos are a little bit too long. He takes too long to get to the point for my taste. But he's made it clear that he's a liberal, right? And he's become a disaffected liberal, just like Dave Rubin, and has probably shifted to more social conservatism in regards to some issues, right? But I still think that a lot of these guys are still pretty economically left. But I mean, that is the definition of being centrist, right? You have some right-wing views, some left-wing views. Right, there's some views, and honestly, guys, I've been saying this before. I've been saying that I think there is a large audience for a more centrist perspective, a more nuanced and balanced perspective, and I think that Tim Poole has really honed in on that perfectly. Because I do look at his comment section. I really don't. I read his comment section more than I actually watch his videos. But a lot of people on the right get pissed off with Tim Poole because they call him a fence sitter. Right? And there's a lot of people on the left that get pissed off with Tim Poole because they don't agree with him in regards to some social issues. So he's not really trying to appeal to just one group of people. I think that these are legitimate, his opinions. I think he's been a disaffected liberal, and that's it. And I think that he has a good ability to see all sides of an issue and to put that into a narrative form that the audience is going to want to pay attention to, whether or not you agree with it or you don't. And I think that's what makes Tim Poole good, right? I think when people listen to you, regardless of whether or not they agree with your opinion, that's how you know you're good. Tim Poole has said things that piss off both sides, but I think people respect him for that, and I think that's what ultimately has led to his success, right? It's this aura of, well, you might not like my opinion, but at least my opinion is real and is nuanced, or at least that's the way it comes off. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm just saying that's my opinion.
But meanwhile, what he's really doing is reacting to his audience. And so when people look for that misogyny and that and anti-Black Lives Matter and all those things, then he gives them what he wants. He gets rich, and it creates a vicious.
Or he could just be a liberal that don't like Black Lives Matter, right? How hard is that to comprehend? Not everybody agrees with Black Lives Matter and Antifa and all these left-wing movements that TYT agrees with. Everybody don't agree with that. You can be on the left and still don't like the far left extremists. Matter of fact, I think that's a majority of people on the left, right? I think that's why most people in this country are independent, right? They're independent because they don't agree with the far left or the far right, right? They have a mix of views. But again, the far left is the extremists, TYT, the real extremists. They can't understand that concept.
Cycle, which is great for him and maybe great for racism and sexism, but terrible for everyone else.
What has Tim Poole said is racist? Now that y'all, Tim Poole promotes racism. Tim Poole promotes sexism. So having an opinion that does not align with the progressive view is promoting racism and sexism. That's essentially what he's saying, because Cenk is not backing this up with any type of facts, right? They claim to be a fact-based network, but he hasn't provided any examples of Tim Poole actually being racist. Being against Black Lives Matter does not make you racist, or believing in traditional gender roles, that doesn't make you a sexist either.
Well, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think one thing that Rebecca Lewis, who is an extremism researcher at Stanford University, told me is that, that there's been a great deal of time and energy, both in reporters and in academicians and educators and analysts, trying to understand the ways that YouTube can radicalize its audience. That the more YouTube they consume, the more it drives them further and further to farther extremist content.
That's all of social media, bro. That's not just YouTube. That's not just YouTube. What happens, guys, and I've talked about this when it comes to the algorithms. What happens is that most people gravitate towards content that they like, right? They gravitate towards opinions that they want to hear, okay? So what happens is that if you click on a video and you like that person's opinion, you watch that video for a long time, you like it, you comment, what happens is that because these companies want to keep your eyeballs on the screen so they can get more ad revenue, they're going to suggest content that aligns with what they know that you like, something that you're likely to watch, something that you're likely to click on. So you're going to see more content that is naturally more aligned with the political views of people that you listen to, right? It happens all the time. Sometimes when I'm not as politically oriented in terms of the videos that I'm watching on YouTube, I start watching more fitness stuff. So once I start watching more fitness stuff, YouTube recommends more fitness stuff, right? Next thing I know, my whole timeline is filled with fitness stuff, right? That's just how it works. It works that way on Facebook. It works that way on Twitter, YouTube. All platforms work that way because they're all designed to collect as much ad revenue as possible, period. So you can't blame Tim Poole for that. You can't necessarily blame YouTube because this is the profit maximizing strategy for them. But see, what they want to do is that this is an attempt to get Tim Poole deplatformed on YouTube. And this is what pisses me off about TYT running this segment, because you're supposed to be independent, but they're not. Like Jimmy Dore said, they're corporate. They're corporate. Saying that YouTube is radicalizing people, that is criticism of YouTube that leads to YouTube thinking like, okay, yeah, we might be radicalizing people. We might be responsible for X, Y, and Z happening. So we got to, deplatform that person, demonetize this person. That affects independent content creators the most. It harms people that are literally just putting out their opinions and trying to make a living giving their opinions, right? And if people happen to like their opinions, they like their opinions. They make money. So what? Again, this is no different than the mainstream media, but they want to monopolize that. They don't believe in actual fair competition, competing. Because mainstream media has lost all credibility. TYT has lost all credibility. So instead of competing to get their credibility back, they'd rather just say, you know what? We're going to guilt trip YouTube into getting rid of independent platforms that are a threat to us that we don't like. That's what this is. And it pisses me off because it's not fair competition. I never call for people's opinions to be censored just because I don't like them. Who cares if they're competition? You have to compete, right? You have to be better. That's it. But they don't want to compete. Socialists don't want to compete. If you don't want to work hard and compete, you're not going to like capitalism. That's why TYT is actively against capitalism.
But I think what we see with Tim Poole is that the converse is also true, is that YouTube over time radicalizes its creators because they get immediate feedback about what works, and without even whether it's conscious that they're doing it or not, they start to lean towards that direction. They start to respond to what the audience is giving them approval for, not just approval, but fame and popularity.
Same thing that the mainstream media does, right? CNN has an audience where they say, okay, we want to market to this audience right here. Anti-Trump, people that hate Trump, that's what they did for the last 4 years, right? So they radicalized that audience to be anti-Trump, right? Same argument that you're making. Everybody does this. Fox News does this. MSNBC does this. TYT does this. Everybody has a target audience, okay? And people are going to cater content towards their target audience. This is traditional marketing 101. This is not some nefarious scheme that just Tim Poole has come up with or that's just prevalent on YouTube. No, this is how advertising and marketing works, period. That's just how it is. It's just the feedback loop. If people like the content, if you're rewarded for making certain content, yes, you're going to make more of it because that's what your audience wants to see. It is what it is. It's up to the audience to determine whether or not they want to continue to see that. And ultimately, in the day, this is how capitalism works. This is the way it should work. It is what it is.
And money and all of these things necessarily radicalize their creators. And when I say radicalize, I want to be clear about one thing. I personally have no idea if Tim Poole believes the things that he says on YouTube. And I honestly think it doesn't really matter that much because the actual impact of the things he says is far more important. And the degree to which those ideas are spread to, again, an audience that reaches at his peak was over 100 million views a month. And so the question of like whether Tim has been radicalized it's not really.
No, Tim is not a radical. Tim Poole is not a radical person. I can tell you that for certain. Right? Again, anybody who doesn't agree with the far left view is a radical in their opinion. How the hell is Tim Poole a radical? He's literally a centrist. Right? He's not a part of some far right wing group. He's not a part of some far left wing group. He's not a radical. He's not a radical. So there is no question about whether or not Tim Poole is a radical. No, he's not a radical whatsoever. He's not even close.
Has this one person gone further to the right? But the content that they produce, that you can track and that you can watch change over time. So this question of whether he likes to call himself a centrist or a disaffected liberal or any of those terms that he likes to use, to me, isn't really interesting or one that could be answered, whether it's by reporters or even, a very well-trained psychiatrist who sat down with Tim Poole for many hours. That's not the point.
Right.
Yeah, sorry, go right ahead.
No, this is such a fascinating component of your reporting, and it's something that you kind of see play out in real time. And what I find fascinating, look, you write, here's an excerpt from your piece. A former digital media journalist who originally built up his name with on-the-ground reporting and live streaming, including stints at Vice and Fusion. Poole now postures as a rational centrist, you write, or disaffected liberal who grew to loathe the excesses of the left. And so when we talk about the grift, right? I mean, it's really repurposing.
Everybody's a grifter except them. Everybody's a grifter except TYT, according to TYT.
Strategy that we've seen on Fox News where they'll.
And MSNBC and CNN and TYT. Don't leave out TYT. It's the same strategy you guys use.
Seek out a black person who'll come on the show and say awful things about the black community. And in order for this strategy to work, you would need someone like Tim Poole, someone like Jimmy Dore, someone who pretends to be on the left. Or
Jimmy Dore pretends to be on the left. The guy that is literally damn near a socialist, okay? I mean, he is a socialist, all right? He wants all that stuff that TYT wants and more, right? The guy that pushes the squad to be more far left. They're not going far enough. They're not trying hard enough. That guy, Jimmy Dore, the Medicare for all, okay? The free college for everybody. The, Bernie Sanders support. Oh, Jimmy Dore. He pretends to be on the left. So if Jimmy Dore's pretending to be on the left, what the hell is the left? I would hate to see what they define as actual left. See, anybody with any figment, any sprinkle of socially conservative views is pretending to be on the left. They're not on the left anymore. Even if they're economically communist, right? Doesn't matter. If you have socially conservative views, even a sprinkle, oh, you're not on the left. Again, and I have to end this video before it gets too long at that, because it's just, after hearing that, them saying that Jimmy Dore pretends to be on the left, you've lost all credibility. You cannot come up here and pretend like you're a fact-based network, because that statement right there is just objectively not true. It's just false. That is a smear, right? That's a smear. And you know it's false. You know what you're saying is not true. But you're saying anyways, and they're talking about, well, we're based on facts, right? We're not about emotions. Okay, we're not trying to get people riled up. No, you are. You are. You're the pot calling the kettle black. That's what it is. That's what it is. And like I said, it pisses me off to see independent networks, so-called independent networks like TYT, do this. Okay, because again, not too long ago, they were small, right? They were trying to compete. And now that they've stopped growing, now that they basically maxed out as far as they can go, now they're trying to smear the competition because they're afraid that somebody like Tim Poole, he may build out an independent network that's bigger than theirs. So they're incentivized to smear him because he's taking their audience. He's taking their audience. He's more credible than they are. So they come out here and try to pretend like, well, he's a grifter. He's radicalizing people. As if TYT has not radicalized people on the left. They have. So like I said, man, I just wanted to chime in on that. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.